he came down in 1978 with about 25 or more black ministers, and my secretary says Mr. Sharpton was here, he has no appointment. And I said, I'll see him anyway. I'll go into the blue room, which is the big room, because he had so many people. And I said, what is it you want to tell me? And he said, I have a petition here that demands reparations. I think it was $50 billion. And also, we want you to sign the petition which says that all hiring of summer jobs, federal government gave summer jobs, 60,000 of them actually, where they paid the money for people to be put to work. And you had to be a youngster at a certain age, you had to be below the poverty line, and so forth. But we want you to sign an agreement that you will only give summer jobs to blacks and Hispanics. I said, I can't do that. The fact is, there are more, in those days, more poor white kids than there were poor black kids, simply because the city in those days was probably about 65% white, maybe more. I mean, proportionately, there was obviously greater poverty amongst blacks, but in terms of absolute numbers, there are more white kids. And what we did in my administration was use a lottery. Say that any kid that wanted a summer job should put in his name, and then the computer would spit the names out on a lottery basis, and we ultimately found that there were 120,000 kids that applied. We only had 60,000 jobs, and 50% got jobs, and it was picked by a computer. And the people in the past who had used the program politically, they were pissed. I mean, I remember a Catholic priest coming and saying, I used to get a certain number of jobs from the administration. And I said, well, we don't do that anymore. We now use a lottery. He said, I know who the good boys are, because it's a program for boys and girls, but I know who the good boys are. And I said, this is intended to mock him, but it was a foolish statement. Father, there are no bad boys. But in any event, for this purpose, it's not a question of the good boys or the bad boys. So I said, I can't sign that. Well, we're not going to leave here until you do. So I said, why don't you leave it and I'll get back to you. No. And he says that if you don't sign it, we're going to sit down in front of your office and not let anybody in. Or out. So I said, you can't do that. You can picket to your heart's content on the steps of City Hall, but you can't prevent other people from coming in. So he said, we will. And he sits down in front of my office with 3 other ministers. And I say to the cop, there's a cop there, remove him. And the cop says, he sort of whispers, sort of voce, what if they resist? And I say, have you never heard the word arrest? Arrest them. And they were arrested. And that's a shock. Nobody gets arrested at City Hall. But particularly black protesters, you don't want to create an incident. Then I started getting telegrams from all the members of Congress, black and white. How can you arrest these people, these ministers? The 3 of them. I said, because they committed an illegality. They're preventing people. Didn't make any difference. I mean, I denounced, and I'm sure that I don't have any recollection of what happened, but I doubt that the courts did anything other than release them, because the courts were terrible in those days. And I don't mean you should jail people for that. I mean civil protest, nonviolent, and this was certainly an illustration of nonviolent civil protest, should be met with fines, whether it's $50 or $250. So you know you can't do it with impunity. I doubt it that there were.
You achieved your goal. You got them out of your office. You achieved.
Oh yes, oh yeah, yeah, and nobody ever came and sat again. That's very important.